Rise to the pledge, please.
Exactly.
Ryan, can you lead us in the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting a good fight in Ukraine, those suffering from the conflict in the Middle East, and also a memorandum of Sean Quick. Thank you. Sal, Paul, do we have anybody for public participation?
There it is. Yep. Pete.
Oh, we gotta start
Start the phone.
Start the phone. Thank you for reminding me, Olga. All right, I should go around.
No, Pete's gonna go down.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Hi, Diane. How you doing, Katie? Over there. How are you? Great, thank you. Okay.
How come it's not?
Feel bad?
No.
I was never really sick. I just had my sinus going.
Sounded awful.
I know, well, that last week, yeah. No, it's good now. Yeah. But I still, it must be there,
Yeah.
because I sound it.
If you are the meeting host, please enter your...
Did they really? Oh, good, okay. Good, that's good to know. If I want to stop anybody talks now, just...
Ellen Conklin from the Board of Finance.
Ellen's there, and
And Chris Cosgrove?
Who else? Olga?
Chris Cosgrove?
And
Ellen?
and Ellen, that's it? Okay.
Walter, would you like to open the Board of Finance?
yes, pull the Board of Finance back to order.
And the same for the Town Council. And Katie, before we start, I'd like, as you see the roster of departments that we have here tonight, there's quite a few of them. I'd like to entertain a motion to kind of balance out tonight and tomorrow nights, is move economic development to tomorrow night. That way we're not here for a longer time than
Gotcha.
we're going to be with these departments.
All right, item 11
Okay?
will be moved to
All right.
what night, Mayor?
Be tomorrow night,
All
Wednesday,
right.
the 19th.
Okay.
Okay? First one,
Second.
I seconded.
You did, Sal. Oh, great.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Next is, we have no public comment?
No, not Mayor.
Okay. Next is the registrars. Oh, no, I'm on Wednesday, I'm on the wrong.
IT.
IT, sorry about that. I was looking at Wednesday. Eight.
It's on the display right there.
Get on the phone. There you go.
Yep, page 100.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members, Board of Finance members. Thank you for taking the time. I want to start off by introducing the gentlemen behind me, Ken and Shane. Ken is our systems administrator, and Shane is our technology specialist. The three of us make up the entirety of the Town and Milford IT department. We are responsible for all of the... Oh, of course. I apologize. I'm Dave Watson. I'm the director of IT for the town. Thank you. I forget myself sometimes. Excellent. So I just wanted to start with a little bit of groundwork, a little bit of understanding of what it is that our office does. Because from the outside, I'm sure it's mostly phone calls to break and fix things. Not entirely the case. With that being said, though, we did introduce a brand new ticketing system about 2 years ago. At this point in time, we've actually received 2,600 tickets to that system. And across all of those tickets, we've actually still maintained a 5-star review from all the employees, which I am exceptionally proud of, and it speaks volumes of the gentleman behind me. We've also managed to maintain a 99.6% uptime for all of the systems, that not just the ones that we are responsible for, but the ones that we gather through different services. For example, our internet service provider. That essentially works out to about 35 hours of downtime every single year. That also includes when Charter Communications takes down one of our internet connections for maintenance at 2 o'clock in the morning, and when we bring down our servers for necessary patching on a monthly basis. So that is also, again, it really speaks volumes to the efforts that come out of our department, and I'm exceptionally proud of. One of the biggest focuses that we've had since I started here has been security. For some context there, we did a risk assessment almost right out of the gate, and it was found that we actually had 78 total vulnerabilities. 12 of them were critical, 37 of them were high. Our most recent assessment, I'm actually just going to give you a quote out of the very beginning of that assessment. The vendor that did the external and internal penetration tests stated, over the course of the security engagement, we identified several strengths and effective security controls within the New Milford network environment. These controls impede many common attacks against New Milford's information assets and represent a level of maturity consistent with security best practices. I can tell you from what I saw when I first got here and the mayor and I hit the ground remediating where we were, that's exceptional. And I'm extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish over just over 5 years at this point. Security as not just one of our expenditures, though, just so you're aware, we participate with the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Administration to receive malicious domain name blocking, which essentially means if someone misclicks on something, we are all human, it can happen from time to time. If it's a website that the administration is aware of being malicious, it actually stops that traffic, doesn't let you get to that website. We also use them for a cyber hygiene service, which means once a month we give them all of our external addresses, if you will, and they scan those every single week and send us a report on their findings that we can immediately action. Both of those services come at no charge to the town of New Milford. We also participate with the cybersecurity assessment, which is offered by the Connecticut Military Department and the Connecticut Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. It's their joint cyber team. That opens us up to grant opportunities, but it also gives us a chance to get an assessment of where we are, and it, again, no cost to us, so the more information we can rely on, the better. Our most recent assessment, we also had a handful of findings. The majority of those were remediated within 24 hours. Every single one of them was addressed within a week's time. With that being said, I do want to pivot over to the numbers. So if you take a look at our personnel lines, you will see that we did see a $14,342 change over previous fiscal year. That includes the non-union increases as well as the addition of a paid internship role. We do have currently an unpaid intern within the department. He's been with us for a couple of weeks, and we're looking forward to working with him.
And Dave, just for everybody that's maybe some of our newer members and those watching both in the audience and on video, how many people are full-time in your department?
You're looking at them, sir. All three of us are
So we
full-time
have
employees.
3 people for our department, and you help all of our departments, including all of our employees.
Absolutely,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
We are responsible for the public safety out of the police department, everyone that works out of town hall, the senior center, JPCC. With the size of our organization, if you look at best practices as far as an enterprise is concerned, those numbers, I'm sure you understand, do not always apply to municipalities. You would typically have one individual in an IT department for every 19 employees. I believe we're at approximately 300 or so employees, and we have 3 IT professionals.
And Dave, on top of that, we manage the Munis, which is our, as Olga knows, that's our finance arm, both for the town and for the Board of Education. Also, we manage all the other software and websites that are housed within different departments, as some have already talked about here, correct?
Absolutely, including the telecommunication systems that is in use. For the record, we also support the library. So it's not an insignificant amount of work that we accomplish. But
Great.
we're making do with what we have, and I think we're doing an exceptional job. Like I said, the fact that we've On average, 1,300 tickets with less than 2 days worth of downtime over the course of a year with 3 people working that system. And that's on top of all the project work and everything else we do. For example, we just managed a migration of all of our T-Mobile, Verizon lines of service over to T-Mobile. And we managed to move every single line of service in approximately 2 days. That's also speaking great volumes to our employees being patient with us while we did so. But yeah, no, we certainly have a lion's share of work. As we move on to our professional services actually has 2 lines to it. To the point of the mayor, we are a 3-person team, and every once in a while, a situation that we encounter exceeds the knowledge of our office. That's just, it's simple numbers, and the fact that, while a master of one is, I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase, not necessarily always going to be something that's in our wheelhouse. So with that being said, we do have a line in there for professional services if we need to fall back on a vendor. For example, if there's a security topic that exceeds our expertise, or if we need to do an upgrade to some critical systems and we need to ensure it's done in both a timely manner and also effectively and quickly done, we will fall back to those MSPs. And then we also have the risk assessment, which I mentioned before. That is something that we do on an annual basis on top of the cyber hygiene services. So we use those, again, on an annual basis to assess both from the inside and from the outside the security and or vulnerability of our network, and we leverage that information to rectify that situation if something comes up. In the world of IT, vulnerabilities are coming out on a daily basis. Zero-day exploits are called that because they are being leveraged the moment they are identified. They are usually from the factory, essentially, and they're being identified by malicious actors every single day. Think of it like your front door being left unlocked. As soon as the vendors identify that, they release patches. That's why Microsoft says to update your computer. So every single year we do that assessment, because even though something may not have changed in the system, it doesn't mean someone didn't find a new way to damage that system or exploit it or use it for other malicious purposes. Our contractual line, you'll see, went up by $44,392. The increase in that line is partially due to the rising service costs that we are seeing, but we're also absorbing some costs that were previously covered under ARPA. That actually makes up about 62% of the increase. To give a little context for what's underneath that line, that includes things like the licensing for our firewalls. That includes our security awareness training, where we send phishing tests to our employees once every 2 weeks to both familiarize them and prepare them for encountering phishing emails, which are very much on the rise. That also includes the Munis financial software. It includes our Viewpoint cloud system. Those 2 last items alone make up about 42% of that part of the budget. And the Viewpoint Cloud in and of itself is actually, I'm sure you've heard of it before, that's the town's permitting system. We, in the last calendar year, that system was responsible for permits in amounts of $791,000. So that line facilitates our staff to do a significant larger amount of permits being processed, be it in building, land use, and otherwise, than we would have been able to do previously without the aid of that technology. In that line, we also have our web hosting, our internet connections, our asset management software, the ticketing system that I alluded to that we leverage to track all of our work. There's a lot of the base utilities that we use to manage and support our staff, but everything here is essentially foundational to the rest of the organization being able to do their job. I recently had a meeting with a mayor, and essentially the message that I said to him is, my perspective is, if most of the town doesn't know that we exist, it effectively means that we're doing our job well.
That's exactly true.
So with that being said, I believe the very last line there is our materials and supplies. As I noted, we do, Shane is a relatively recent addition. I believe he's been with us for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. And then we also have that intern. With that, we do have the need for additional supplies. We also want to make sure that we have some additional supplies like network cabling, SFPs. If something goes down, we need to be able to expeditiously replace that. We don't want to be waiting on a purchase order and waiting for things to land. So we do want to maintain a certain level of supplies simply for operational readiness. And that concludes everything I have. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions?
I do.
Sal?
Mary was first. You can go ahead.
Sorry.
Mary Jane?
Yeah, I just, did you say the intern is paid or not paid?
This fiscal year, there is no compensation for that role, but there is, should this budget pass, $8,000 for that purpose. So it would be becoming a paid internship. At this time, it is not a paid
Okay.
internship.
And where's your intern from? Is it from a university or?
He does go to school with the local university at this time, yes.
Okay, and is this part of his educational program?
I do
Or-
believe he's going to be using some of his hours towards that. His degree is computer-centric, so he is advancing in his education, if you will, by taking on this internship.
Okay, and I had one more. I got an email from somebody this afternoon that they said that the farmland preservation site had been hacked. Did you?
I believe the question should be budgetary in nature.
I just wanted to know, seeing as how you're here.
I don't think it would be appropriate for me to comment on it at this time. If
Okay.
you'd like to send a question to my office, I'd be more
Sure,
than happy to handle
no
it for you.
problem.
Of course. Sir.
Alex? The contractual thing. So what's in the contractual again?
Contractual is the majority of what we have. So it's everything from firewall renewals, licensing for remote support software, SSL certificates, web hosting. We also have our security awareness platform in there, asset management tracking, device management solutions, our intranet connections. Again, the majority of the services that we leverage are in there. Everything up to and including the licensing for the Gmail accounts that our staff
You have
use.
labor, you have services, which is what 29,000, 24,000? And then you have a contractual, which is everything else, licensing, software, renewals and everything, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, more or less, yeah. So again, the professional services is our risk assessment plus MSP services when needing to be called upon. Our salary line, of course, includes our salary, and most every other expense that we have, other than materials and supplies, does live under the contractuals.
Is it annually, or you sign up for like 3 years and they charge you that?
It depends. So, our licensing for our firewall, we usually get in 3-year increments simply because it's more cost effective to do so that way. Our security awareness, that's an annual renewal. So it simply depends on what it is. Our ISP, Connecticut Education Network, we have an agreement with them that we just entered into that is for the fiber lease. That's 20 years because they did a brand new build out. But the recurring costs are not necessarily something that can be done anything other than on a monthly basis.
So the penetration testing, you're doing internal and external, or just internal?
The penetration testing is internal and external, and we give them all the IP addresses of the town entities.
And who's doing that?
We actually change vendors almost every year simply to get different eyes on it.
Okay.
In the past, we've used a vendor called ADNet. We've also used TrustedSec. But I do like the idea of moving between security vendors to get a fresh set of eyes each year we get the assessment. They all have different methodologies, and frankly, every employee within an organization that does that kind of work typically has their own methodology that they'll follow. But I do like getting a fresh set of eyes. I don't want to get stale reports.
Makes sense. That's how it works. You shouldn't have the same company over and over again and have to change every year.
I agree.
For those that don't know what a penetration testing is, basically, you're testing your own network. You're attacking yourself to see what the holes are. Just internal or external. So you're attacking yourself from the outside in, or you're penetrating to see what you can penetrate from inside in. That's pretty much penetration testing is. So you're attacking. So that's what they're doing, and which is a good thing. You should do this, and every year this is what they do. So that's a good stuff. We're Cisco shop, right?
We are.
How many switches do we have?
Okay.
Approximately 30, 35.
30, 35, because Board of Education has 38. So you, 3 of you manage the entire network with the 38 switches, and you don't have a secretary, just 3 of you. How many hours do you work?
It depends on the week.
I know.
Technically 40 hours, but I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is check my work phone, and it's by my side 24/7, 365. We're also all on call for the PD on a 3-week basis, starting on Sunday at midnight, going through Saturday at midnight when it changes to the next employee.
Yeah, I see you coming sometimes to the town council meetings where some things don't work, so I guess it's more than 40 hours.
Yeah, so we're all salaried employees, so technically we're around 24/7, 365.
Understood.
Especially when you support public safety, there's no time off.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, thanks. No, I don't have more questions.
Thank you. Katie? And then Joe?
Thank you very much for the info. Let's go back to the tickets. You had 13,000 tickets in the past year?
Approximately annually, but since we added the system in July
Okay, but you
about 2
said about
years ago,
13,000,
2,600.
was that right? It was a year?
On average.
What's the majority of those tickets
A
concerned?
lot of it is break fix. Everything from an employee calling saying, hey, I'm trying to do this thing in Word and I don't know how to do it.
Break
or-
fix of what, a computer, a phone? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, everything. Everything that's technology related. So if their phone is not working or if they have a question,
I
absolutely.
understand that, Dave, but
Yeah.
what's the majority item that you go to fix, is what I'm trying to get at? Is it more phones? Is it more computers? Are
Honestly,
phones
I think
crappy?
the majority of our work is typically user education. They're trying to do
Okay,
something that
so-
they haven't done before.
Okay, so that's a ticket item
It is.
when somebody doesn't understand how to do whatever it is they want to do.
Every time someone engages
Okay.
my office for
Okay.
support, it's a ticket.
That's a ticket. Okay, good. Next question. You have a paid intern in here, although you said you had a no-charge intern. So this person, this is a new slot for somebody.
This current fiscal year, it is not a paid internship.
Right, okay,
Yes.
so now it's not the same person you've had. How long have you had this? Okay, that's the one you were referring to. Okay, 'cause that's
Yes.
why I didn't realize when I saw that it was paid. Okay. And then the professional services, it's $29,000. That's sort of like a salary of somebody. And I'm just curious, do you go out to the same people to have things done for risk assessment, or for those, what you have under professional services, because I don't know what that all includes?
Right.
Or do you hop around and use different people, as you said, for the testing? I understand that.
Right. So it's going to depend, and I know that's not a great answer for you. But for example, we have one vendor that we work with for telecommunications. If there's an issue with our phone system, if we need to do patching overnight with one of those systems, I would engage that specific
So
vendor.
a phone system that we have, we pay them to fix the problem?
No, I have a line. So if there's something that we can remediate for ourselves, we do so. We try to be fiscally responsible.
Okay.
With that
So
being said,
I
if
don't
there's-
want to belabor this with you.
Sure.
Could you do me a favor, and maybe everybody? Under that heading of the professional services, could you just send us tomorrow, next day, a list of what exactly it is helping to serve? Because
Certainly.
if we have the majority of our tickets as learner issues or user issues needing learning.
Yep.
And then we have professional services here. It just seems like a lot of time is spent for, something outside, although you take care of the tickets.
Right. If I could
and you said-
clarify, those tickets would normally be for things that are incidental, not necessarily the phone system and down and no one can do their job.
But you
and
would
we
write a
don't know
ticket if the phone
resolution.
system was down, wouldn't you?
Someone would call to tell us about that.
Okay.
But if it's something
Well-
critical, cataclysmic, everything is down, and we don't know the fix, as opposed to toiling away trying to sort it out, we'll bring in an organization who has a much deeper
Okay,
bench to assist us.
I understand. I work in businesses, I get it.
Understood.
So my question is, who said that you had normally one IT person for 19 staff? Was that you?
That would be something I said, yes.
Okay, so we have 3 for 300 plus?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me how safe, I'm not talking security-wise, I'm
Yep.
just saying is, like, are you beating yourselves up by working a lot of hours to take care of something that in all respects, I have to say, if it's 1 for 19 in the rest of the world and you're 3 people for 300, something's got to give somewhere.
I would argue, in my experience over the last couple of years, municipal organizations work in a different way,
Okay,
right?
so
We
was
are
it the
expected
w-
to do more with
Okay,
less.
so your quote of 1 IT person for 19 staff, was that not for a municipality?
That is and I defined it then, that's for enterprise organizations.
Okay, so could you find out what it is for municipalities, if
I'd
you know
love to.
that? And just send that along too?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I think you all do a great job. I'm not so sure about the new guy, but,
So far, he's working out quite well, actually.
well, he's been here 2 weeks, so we'll see. But I think you all do a good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just for housekeeping, when I sat on town council for 6 terms, and now as mayor, there's 2 people who was at IT,
Yes, sir.
right?
And I think you will find, if you look at a lot of our non-member organizations, this is not atypical. I don't want you to hear this as a complaint or as a point of conflict. It's simply the reality that municipalities, just out of the nature of what we do and what we have, we need to do more with less. I think if you looked at a lot of our neighboring community, you'll usually see a 2 to 3 member IT department.
Okay, thank you.
Joe?
Of course.
And then Alex.
This goes to piggyback off of basically what Sal was talking about, security. I just wondered if you had any statistics about how many malicious attacks we do fend off per day, per year.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the angle that you're looking at. So, for example, that malicious domain blocking, we see I would say approximately 2,000 URLs that load, but that can be a misleading number simply because, let's just say there's a malicious advertisement on a website that's otherwise perfectly fine. It could be a news organization that just so happens to have an advertisement that's pointing someplace malicious. That would be among those statistics.
Okay.
As far as what we see where our employees are sending us phishing emails, for example, I'd say we probably see approximately a dozen to 2 dozen on a good day versus a bad day. It all depends. We are seeing an influx of emails coming from other organizations that we do business with. In recent memory, we had another municipality that fell victim to a phishing attack. That employee's email was then used to attack other municipalities, our individuals among them, because as a standard business, you're seeing these departments working between these organizations. There's also nonprofit organizations that some of our departments do business with. They fall victim to phishing attacks, and then their otherwise legitimate email addresses are being misused. I would say those are the most common vectors that we see.
Okay, thank you.
Alex?
Thank you. I was one of those tickets once, and I want to thank you for responding so quickly. It's
Thank you.
amazing, so thank you. The intern, how many hours a week?
Right now, they're in for 16 hours a week, twice a week, and that's simply because they're actually still at university,
Right.
and for good cause, we want them to focus on their studies.
Oh, there's more than one?
Well, unpaid.
Okay.
Unpaid, is there more than one or no?
There is only one intern at this time.
Okay, all right. And then you had mentioned ARPA funds, so that now you have to actually put them in the budget. So there are a number of items that, this longer list for this coming budget as there than currently. So like managed Wi-Fi, because there are large increases in your budget, and I get it, but it would be helpful for us to know which items were paid for with ARPA funds.
Yep. So
Dave,
now-
you want to send that so that we can disseminate it to
absolutely,
everyone?
I can absolutely do that.
Because there is, percentage-wise, it's a large increase, and I get it.
Yep.
You're doing a lot with little. But it would be nice for us to be able to address the fact that these were ARPA, and no, they're not. And then yet a few other line items that we didn't fund in the budget we're living in now, from the budget.
I can review and send information on that.
That would be great.
Certainly.
Thank you.
I don't believe there's too many new additions to the budget from previous fiscal years, but I'll do that assessment and get that information over.
Well, they don't line up, so that's one thing. But
Certainly.
But the list is longer for the upcoming budget than it is for the current budget.
Acknowledged.
And so it would be good to know why those numbers are there now when they weren't before.
Certainly.
And Dave, can you also put in there, as this list is longer, is some of these were in other department budgets as we're trying to consolidate
Right.
into one silo, the difference. So if you could put in there too, where that may have existed last year.
Absolutely.
So we'd see
Important, yeah.
we'd
yeah.
see a change in that
Absolutely.
department. Oh, I see. Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave?
Mayor?
Chris?
Yes, thank you. So first of all, David, I just have to say that I'm always amazed at the dedication and professionalism of you and your team. And I remember when you came in, how appalling our security was. I'm thankful you didn't walk in the front door, walk out the back door when you saw what you're up against. But I think you guys have really done a phenomenal job these last few years. I had a couple questions that have already been asked, and so that information will be forthcoming, so that's great. The only question I have is, and it's a minor one, down in materials and supplies, 2 line items, one materials and supplies / computer refresh, and then the other IT department yearly supplies. I see the one is a new addition. I think you talked about it. It might have to do with the intern, but is there a reason why they're 2 separate lines? They both look like supplies.
Yeah, forgive me. I think the language there could have been more clear. There was the need for a computer refresh, and the materials and supplies listed there would be more office incidentals, whereas the IT department yearly supplies, again, could have been named better. That's going to be more the network cables, the the things that I mentioned before that we need in order to have that situational readiness.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, great, thank you.
So that's really like hardware you're saying, so, yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Yeah, so, you know, if a network cable running from a phone to a computer, for example, starts to fail, I don't want to tell the employee you're not going to have a computer for a week. I'd rather have that cable on a shelf that I can just pull down and roll out.
And did you not keep that kind of inventory last
We do
time?
have it to some extent, but we're a little bit more lean than I would prefer.
No, but I don't, I see. You kept it the same, that's why I just wondered if it's enough.
I think what we attempted to do there was break it out and make it more clear that some of it was going to be office incidental kind of supplies.
No, just the
Post-it notes and
7,500
pens.
for the department yearly
Right.
supplies is the same, so I just wonder if that enough.
I understand. I do believe it's going to be ample, and I will review that as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year. And if I need to make adjustments for next budget, I can certainly do so.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? Okay. Dave, thank you. Thank you for the team for doing such an outstanding job.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you,
guys.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
I can't remember his name.
Okay. Next is the Sewer Commission. John?
Are they in there?
Ta-da. Ta-da. Gracias.
And Chris and Doug and Tom will make sure that you guys get this presentation sent to you.
Thank you.
Color picture.
Thank you.
Control authority.
Good evening. I am John Whitman, the chair of the New Milford Sewer Commission, and I'm extremely proud to represent our board here tonight and in the years past. And I'm here representing Frank Bedetti, our vice chair, Oli Karp, Gary Hita, Corey Johnson, and John Learson, who is an alternate. It's been a great run. And it's a joy having a management team such as the folks that are behind me to run this organization. And who you're going to be hearing from tonight, and it's going to be starting with Kathleen, but you're going to hear from Mike Ducey. He's a Class 4 chief operator and our process manager. And you're going to hear from Ken Cook. He's also a Class 4 operator. No small feat becoming a Class 4 operator. No small feat. And he's our operations director. And you're going to hear from Kathleen Tereso. She is our business and employee development manager. And they're going to be talking about a lot of our accomplishments, not only our budget, but also some of the major initiatives that we've had over the past year. So I'd like to turn that over to this exceptional management team, and Kathleen's going to kick it off.
Thank you, John. Kathy?
And there's a photo in here, folks.
I see.
That's the cast.
We're not invited.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So we have today is going to be our... Sure, Kathleen Tereso. And then I have Ken Cook and Michael Ducey. So we're going to be presenting our 2025-2026 budget. So if you go to page 2 of the handout, which John's pulling up on the screen right now.
And Kathy, before you give the presentation, so for those that may be new or those that are watching, your budget is not in our budget.
Correct.
You are ancillary to the town. So what we do get, Olga, correct, is we do get a share of paying off some of the debt that the sewer expansion and also the sewer extension provides. And so this past year, if you look in the revenues, how much was that, Olga? That we're anticipating to get?
275,000 contribution.
So that's what we see in our budget.
Yes.
But then each year the WPCA comes in and kind of gives us a state of the union, so to speak, of the sewer plant, because they are representative of the town in that respect. Yeah.
Thank you. So we could start off with, our first category is our salaries, which we just have a 0.07% increase. And that's mainly due to, we had two employees who retired, so we've hired new employees at a slightly lesser rate right now. Then from there, we go into our employee expenses, which is a 9.66% increase, which is mainly due to an increase in medical insurance. We've also increased our training slightly because even though they become a class 1, 2, 3, or 4 operator, they still have to take classes to maintain their operator's license. It's not you get it and you're done. They keep having to continually educate themselves through the state of Connecticut to maintain their licensure. So we have a bunch of new operators that have joined in the last few years that are very hungry, and they are continuing to escalate in their operator license, which is great. Our next category is going to be our utilities, which is a 3.67% increase. Mainly, we just upped our electricity a little bit because we never know what's going on with Eversource. The next one is our laboratory, which has a large increase of 27.43%, which has to do with COVID testing, which is what we are going to be doing. And that is, I believe, state mandated?
Yes.
Yes. Mike can talk more about it, but that is through the state that we have to do it.
Kathy, it's not people that work in the sewer plant that have COVID.
They're
You're
testing
testing the water as you get in,
Mhm.
both those that come into the sewer through the infrastructure and also those dumping into.
Exactly, through the
It gives
septic and
departments
through the sewer.
chance to view stuff like
Mhm. And then our next category is maintenance. We have a 0.51% increase, which is minimal. It's just due to a slight increase in getting supplies and maintaining the plant. And to page 3 is our process expense, which is an increase of 6.11. Mostly that is chemicals with a slight increase. We've been working on getting new polymer, if I remember correctly, to help with our second part, sludge disposal costs with Synagro, which have been increasing every year. They up our rates. Our next category is the miscellaneous expenses, which is 3.33% increase. Basically, the last couple of years, we've had to been paying into our nitrogen program, where before we were getting a refund from the state, but the last 2 years, I think, we've had to pay, if I remember.
No, we haven't had to pay.
Did we break even last year?
We received like a couple $1,000.
Okay, because I remember 1 year we had to pay, so we put the,
This year, zero balance.
right, we put the contingency in case we had to.
Just in case, because
Mhm.
you never know what's gonna happen with the biological system.
Exactly. Then our overhead expenses, there's a 16% increase on that, which is due to, we put in a line for our contracted engineering, which we use an outside firm for any things that we have to do, so that was new this year. So that's that increase. And overall, our budget's just under 3.2 million, which is,
Any questions so far?
I have
Yes,
one,
Diane.
two actually. Why was the contract engineering new this year?
we decided, well, actually, the commission decided to put in 20 grand. We had been getting bills from our engineering firm, Wright Pierce, for small projects that we've had to do that don't fall under our capital expenditures.
Mhm.
So the commission asked us this year when we were doing our budget process to just put in a line item in the budget instead of just being under budget on that.
I see,
Mhm.
okay. And then for the COVID testing, you say that's state mandated?
Yes, it
How
is.
often does that have to take place?
2 times a week.
2 times a week
That's correct.
for the entire town?
For the sewerage system.
They come to our plant
all
2
the
times a
sewage
week.
That's conveyed to the centralized location of the treatment plant. They collect samples and use it for data.
In essence, if you're in this town and you use the system, whether it be your private home system or the public system, it all ends up at the plant. So what they're doing is they're looking at the community as a whole by using the waste product to see if we have a problem with COVID in the community.
Okay, but you did mention septic as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, we do
That would be
have
a price.
septic trucks that come that will,
Twice a week?
no, septic, the trucks come all the time. The people that do the COVID testing come twice a week to our plant to test.
I
They
see.
pull samples twice a week.
Beginning of the week
Okay,
and
from
at the
what's
end.
collected in the trucks.
Exactly.
Yes, okay, that makes total sense.
It's a cyclic system.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, Mary Jane?
Do you
Mayor?
post the results of your COVID testing? Do you post them
It's on the,
anywhere?
it's on the DPH site,
It
Mary
is,
Jane.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, are you testing for PFAS yet?
Not yet. The state hasn't come out with any regulations yet, or any sort of testing or any limits or anything. Last I heard from another town that they're looking at a hard date of 2029. So they're still trying to figure it out. I was actually at a seminar 2 weeks ago, and one of the women who does a lot of lobbying in the legislature for everything, she even said they're nowhere near coming close to any sort of numbers that they're gonna have.
Alex?
Yeah, thank you. Hi. The septic, are these from New Milford homes only, or are they from New Milford companies only, or how do you know?
They would be from New Milford and some surrounding areas. We know where the septic is derived from, being that we get addresses on permit forms when it comes in, so we know where the addresses that it's pulled from.
Got it. So are there out-of-town companies that also bring?
Out-of-town haulers?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't we're not
Right,
allowed
that's
to
what I was
just limit.
wondering how
Mhm.
that's gonna work out. Okay.
Yeah, no, when they come in, they have to fill out a permit. It has the address and everything on there, so.
So, yes, ma'am, the COVID testing could be skewed by an outside source, if
Yeah.
that's where you're going.
Right, that's, okay, got it.
Problem.
Any other-
I think Chris was on the phone too, but I'll go next after Chris.
Chris?
Yeah, just one question. One line that I recall seeing there, it was septic and fog, FOG. It said FOG was eliminated. What is that?
Fog is our fats, oils, and grease. We were doing a courtesy collection at our plant. Before I arrived here, it was, at the time that it was brought forward, was supposed to only offer fog collections for the restaurants in New Milford. Since that started, it has broadened out. We're now receiving fog from our surrounding area towns. We're losing fog. Money, the finances on fog are upside down for us. We're basically losing 25 cents a gallon to get it pulled off our site from Wind River. That roughly goes to about $25,000 annually lost to us, and we're not required by the state to accept it. I conferred with Danbury and Torrington. Danbury actually produces the fog into a biofuel, so that's a green initiative, so we looked in that direction. We're sending our haulers in that direction. They do not have a cutoff limit. I've also reached out to Torrington. They also do not have a cutoff limit, and they're designated fog collection centers. So we would prefer that it go there. It disrupts our process and is extremely financial burdensome for us to accept it, get rid of it, and process it.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask this question or not, but do you have like a listing for what you charge for connection fees?
Well, connection fees, they depend on what the business is and also for a home. For a home, it's $2,000 for the first bedroom, $750 each additional. But a connection fee for a business depends on the type of business that it is.
So do you have like a listing for, say, restaurants or?
Well, for the
what have
restaurants,
you?
it depends on how many seats there are. If it's a hair salon, it depends how many chairs they have. So it's a broad range, but it's based on the state of Connecticut. There's a chart that they have, and we base everything off of the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so there is, so there essentially there is something out there.
Yes, there is.
They give us a chart
Yeah.
of water usage.
Yes, it's like an estimated water usage that they have, so it's a whole formula that we calculate based on their suggestions.
Gotcha. Okay. If you, would have that handy at some point. If you could email that to me, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get questions on that from some local businesses.
Sure.
So I'd like to be able to get back to them on that. So your annual expenses are roughly 3.1 million. What is your annual revenue?
Yeah, we have not finalized our rates yet, so I can't answer to what the revenue's gonna be.
Okay. Okay.
But we
thank
usually
you.
pretty much, prior years, we break even.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, you guys, I think, still have more of your presentation, right?
Yep.
So if you could keep going.
And I am going to step aside and let Ken take over on the operations.
Good evening. Town Council, Budget Team. My name is Ken Cook. I'm Director of Operations, New Milford Water Pollution Control Authority. If you'll quickly turn to page 4, there are many definitions on here, but there are 2 briefly I'd like to recognize, so we'll flow through this a little bit better as I speak. That's going to be CMOM, and that stands for Capacity Management, Operations, and Maintenance. And basically what it means is we're doing our best to keep the mains in the system and the collection systems clean so everything stays below the ground and not on top. Short and brief, that's what it means. Fog, we've been asked what that means. That's fat, oils, and greases. Pretty much that is your main culprit in your collection system that is clogging everything up, slowing down the flow, and causing your backups. So the purpose of your CMOM program is basically to go in and eliminate your fog. So now we'll move forward and we'll go to page 6. And this is pretty much where I was leading into. The purpose of the New Milford Water Pollution Control Authority fog program. The program is to aid in preventing the accumulation of fog. Again, basically it is just to eliminate any buildup in the system. It also helps to eliminate any problems in grease traps for your town food production establishments, because once that enters the system, it reduces their tank size and the capacity of the tanks to accept grease from their restaurants. We're currently modernizing our fog program to ensure that all food production establishments are in compliance with both state and local regulations. These upgrades have included online-based reporting systems with portals for both the individual food production establishment, the haulers, and the WPCA to visualize what is going on. It allows the food production establishment to have their vendors come on site. The vendors know when they're supposed to be there to show up for a quarterly clean out of grease traps. That's required by the state of Connecticut and local. This also allows them to track violations, any requirement for re-inspections, and any issues that our CMOM coordinator, Matt Wolk, finds when he goes out and does his inspections. We actually physically go out and stick the tanks, verify everything is functioning as it's supposed to be. In addition, this will allow individuals that have AGRUs, which is an automatic grease removal unit, or an under the sink, under the counter unit, as most people know them as. It gives them the opportunity, if they do not have a vendor cleaning out their unit for them, to hand clean that unit, and it gives them somewhere to track that information. Because if they don't have a receipt from a vendor, they can't provide us documentation saying that they've cleaned out their grease trap. After reviewing the regulations and the state requirements, we've determined that food production establishments that wish to clean their underground, under counter grease traps can do so and dispose of the remnants in the bottom, the solids in the bottom, into a trash receptacle. We do have some smaller individuals, and this goes to us getting rid of our fog program, to us receiving fog at the plant. We do have some small facilities that render maybe 5 gallons every year, every 2 years. So what we're going to do for them is our facility can accept that. I will speak with my chief operator and keep tabs on that. At the point in time that our plant can't process that, we will transport it free of charge to Danbury until it becomes too burdensome for us. Just a brief, so you guys are understanding the records for the food production equipment food production establishments have to be maintained for 5 years. Cleaning of the grease traps have to be done quarterly. That's in-ground grease traps. The under-counter grease traps should be done daily. The log should be maintained. Again, rendered grease must be disposed of properly by a licensed vendor. You can't just haul it off on your own. If a vendor grease recovery service, someone who comes to clean out your grease trap, is not used, again, you're hand cleaning it yourself, you can bring us the grease up to 5 gallons. Food solids and grit from the bottom, again, can be collected and disposed of in your waste receptacle. CMOM. That's where we're cleaning up the fall from the mains. That stands for Capacity Management, Operation, and Maintenance. It's a flexible, dynamic framework for municipalities to identify and incorporate widely accepted wastewater industry practices to better manage, operate, and maintain the sewer collection system. Our infrastructure assets, works in progress and completed projects. We've purchased and installed 2 manhole smart covers. Basically what they do is they sit there and watch the fluctuation of the water levels to let us know if there's a rainstorm. We have inflow into our system. We've got a hole somewhere we've got to track down, find it, and fix it. Or if there's groundwater saturation, we know that we've got inflow coming into our pipes and we've got other issues, leaks, breaks of that sort. We've completed our GIS system, which is our global infrastructure. We've mapped out the complete system at this point in time. That includes all of our manholes, inverts, our system. We've updated our hardware and software that controls that system. We've also put that on iPads so that we have our on-call guys can now look at that at home. Our asset evaluation project, pump stations, that is a future project which will probably come down a little bit smaller than what we currently have it as we're bringing in more education to be able to do more on that of ourselves. Inspection and completing percentage of the sewer collection system each calendar year is approximately 10%, which is required for a CMOM program. Organizational assets and activities evaluations are up to date. The Milford Water Pollution Control job descriptions available that delineate responsibilities and authority for each position to include management staff? Yes, we do. Are the following items discussed in each job description? Nature of work to be performed? Yes. Minimum requirements for the position? Yes. Any necessary special qualifications for certification? Yes. How often do we meet? We meet on a weekly basis, every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. unless there are special projects, in which case we meet beforehand. Our incentives offered to employees. Yes, we have a certification bonus program. So as you educate yourself and your skill level goes up, you get a bonus, a one-time bonus for that certification. And it's based on a percentage of your annual income. Do we regularly communicate, coordinate with other municipal departments? Almost daily. DPW, zoning, we're in constant communications with most of the departments in town. Are there additional communication methods used? Yes, we use email, we have cell phones, radios, just about every means of communication that we can use, we use. Are there opportunities for cross-training and personal development? I love that one. We are a non-union facility. I'm a strong advocate for cross-training because we're a very small group. If one person is sick and we work as a union shop, I don't have the guy to go over and cover this guy because he hasn't been trained, because the union won't allow cross-training because now you're going into somebody else's job aspects. So I have all the guys trained. You start in one spot, you rotate out, you go to the next spot. As of right now, everybody that is there is currently trained in every aspect that we have, and we will continue to do it that way. Our field employees trained in maintenance and operations of the sewer collection system, pump stations, and maintenance equipment? Absolutely. Again, cross-training for everybody. Is there an established program for the collection system maintenance and flushing? Yes, that's our CMOM program, and we have been, since we've started it, we've maintained 10% or better of our complete system. Does the WPCA have a formal and enforceable fog program? As of a year ago, we do.
Ducey, did you have anything? Do you have anything you want
Yes,
to
sir, he
present?
does. Briefly on the nitrogen program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I'm going to button up with the nitrogen program. Basically, the nitrogen program is to control hypoxia. The definition of hypoxia is basically low levels of dissolved oxygen in Long Island Sound. It has a major effect on the ecosystem of saline water, especially bottom dwellers, plankton, and things of that nature. A fish, if there's not enough dissolved oxygen, can swim away quickly, whereas plankton and invertebrates, and lobsters, clams can't move too quickly, so it's not good for them, and it causes their numbers to decline. Total maximum daily TMDL, it's basically, the permit has stayed the same with no major changes since it was came into being. Right now, we rarely have to pay. We usually get we have a 28-pound limit. We usually come in at less than or equal to 28. This year we came in right at 28 and don't have to pay anything in. It's basically a self-sustaining program with the 79 treatment plants in the state of Connecticut. That's how it's funded. And if you do not do well, then you have to purchase credits. If you do well, then you can obtain credits. So it's basically exchanging it betwixt all the plants to keep it going. And it's been working well for the Sound. Actually, the last part of this, the permit was renewed unchanged. I thought that was an 8, but it's 2028 is when it will be put into draft and reviewed again. Basically it.
Any questions for Mr. Ducey? All right, any further questions on sewer? All right, well, thank you, everybody, appreciate it. John, thank you, thank you to the team. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice picture.
Next is, I don't think we have anybody from Arts Commission here, so I'd like to see if it's okay, since we have our Park and Rec team, for them to present. Park and Rec? And then we'll go back to the other ones.
Okay.
Dan?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Calhoun, Director of Parks and Recreation. I have our Park and Rec Chairman, Alfred Esposito, with us this evening. I have Graham Musson, our Program and Special Events Director. I have Blaze Tuz with us. He's our Park Foreman. And Victoria Wyman, who is our Park and Rec Administrator for the department. First, I want to go into our parks. We currently are in charge of 21 parks in New Milford and well over 500 acres. We have 5.5 park maintainers that maintain this property. Also, we maintain 19 other town facilities, whether it be the town office buildings or different locations within the town. You can see our list there. Within our parks this year, we've had some upgrades. Coming up this year, we're happy to announce that we received a donation from ONG to redo our playground at Carlson's Grove. So they footed the whole bill. So all we have to do is manage it and put it out to bid. So we're gonna have a brand new park there, playground there probably this spring.
And that was approved by the town council in January.
Correct. At Clatter Valley, we've had some improvements up there. We've added a disc golf course and also had some upgrades to our cricket field. So that park is getting more use than it's ever received. Plus we have a lot of dog walkers and other things like that. Emmanuel Williamson, last year we funded some improvements to our basketball courts, and we also added pickleball courts to that. This fall and winter we put a brand new playground up there. So the children in that area have a brand new playground. Lindemming, we're always doing improvements up there, whether it be just maintenance issues or new park amenities, but we're always trying to keep that park up to date and add new things. So going on to the next one, I'll go into our program and events. One thing I wanted to let everybody know about is our adaptive program that we've started the last couple of years. It's a program where we invite anybody within the area that may have a disability, that they can come and learn how to water ski at no cost to them, and other water related activities. And Graham can go into that more in depth if you want to hear more about that. We also have some new programs that we just started or are going to start. One is our basic boating class. It's gone through DEP, and we'll be starting that this spring. Other things that we're looking to do in the future is a cornhole tournament or league, dodgeball league. Another thing we're doing this year, we're going to do a Earth Day event. We're going to do it at Pettibone. We're going to show a movie in the gymnasium, and then we're going to have tabling in the cafeteria. So we're hoping that everybody will come down to see that. We also have a lot of free events in town that we try to offer the public at no cost. We do an Easter egg hunt every year. We do our family fun day at Lindemming Park prior to the season opening. We do a fishing derby. We offer movie nights. We try to do like 3 a year. We do our new Milford Kind Day, and also our Trunk or Treat event. Our programs is one thing we're going to be requesting an increase this year for, because we'd like to continue with the programs that we currently offer and also add on to those. And all these programs are self-sustaining, so we will be bringing back in the funds to cover those costs. Next item is our revenue generators. In order to help subsidize the budget, we sell passes, we charge for our programs, and all this is so we can continue to do what we do and keep our parks clean and safe for the residents of New Milford. Next one is going into our budget. Our increase for this year, we're requesting a $24,613 increase to our budget, which is a 1.7% increase over last year. But we also have anticipated revenues that we will be increasing by $24,102, and that's a 3.7% increase. Next one is our goals. Our goals is to continue offering quality and affordable programs to all the residents of New Milford, and make sure they're affordable and that everybody can participate in those. We strive to maintain clean and attractive and safe parks throughout the New Milford. Each year we try to increase our revenue through programming, rentals, and appropriate fee increases. A few of our capital projects that we'd like to do this year is replace the climbing net at John Pettibone Community Center Playground, replace some of our park signage throughout our park system. We'd like to repair the siding and repaint our bathhouse at Lindemming Park, and also install 2 air conditioning units to John Pettibone Community Center to some of our program and summer camp rooms. We've noticed that it gets pretty warm in the building in the summertime, and we have children in there throughout the summer, so we'd like to have 2 more rooms with AC so the kids can get out of the heat. Lastly, we'd like to replace our gravity rail at the Youngsfield Playground and add called a glide-along plate piece. So those are our capital projects that we'd like to do this year. And we're here to answer any questions you have regarding our budget.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. So first, let's go to the revenue.
Okay.
which is page 43 for everybody. Let's see, last year revenue for Park and Rec, the recreation fees were last year 425,014. This year is 439,199, and that is anticipated recreation revenue as we're doing more programs. Obviously, we're going to get more revenue. Next is the Park and Rec commission fees. That's for the parks, and 225,870 and up to 235,787, and that's based on the fee structure that the town council approved in January. You can see some growth in there, which this year is 650,884, moved up to 674,986.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions for Dan or for Alfred when it comes to the revenues? Okay.
Yeah, Mayor?
Yep.
Yep, so thanks for the presentation, Dan, Graham, and Alfred. Again, it's another town department that does a great job, and I know the Park and Rec Commission, another volunteer organization that really does a lot for this town. My question is on programs. Do you do any sort of customer feedback, customer satisfaction, any sort of analysis of the programs year over year, to see maybe how to get things better? Maybe programs aren't as interested, that they should drop off as new one comes on, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so in terms of something more formal, that's something we're looking to put into place, is try and get more consistent qualitative and quantitative feedback. We do get a lot of word of mouth. We are pretty hands-on with the participants that are registering for our programs and coming into our office. Our instructors are fantastic and are very in touch with the participants in the programs, the parents of a lot of the kids that are in our kids' programs as well. We have a lot of people returning program over program, session over session for especially a lot of our youth programs. There's a lot of our adult programs as well that you're just seeing people coming back consistently and getting positive feedback off of that, and word of mouth then also spreading to, like you see especially things for like our pickleball community, our badminton community, which is more of our drop-in programs, where you start to see a lot of people start coming in from out of town because they're just happy with what we are able to provide in the community that our programs provide.
Great, yeah, and I think that is probably helpful information for you, but I think just because you've got such a broad base of customers, having some sort of qualitative analysis, I would think would be helpful.
Oh, absolutely. We're on the same page there.
Yep, great, thank you.
Katie and then Mary Jane.
Graham?
Yes.
So you have a lot of programs.
Yes.
And I kind of would say you're right that people are very happy with the programs.
Yes.
Or they don't come back and then you know they're not. But what would you say is the most popular program for children?
So like, it kind of depends on how you're looking at it. So like, there are some programs that just have like a low capacity but consistently meet them. So like, we have a Tykes Only program, which is a lot of like, it's socializing for that like 1 to 2 year olds that consistently is able to fill up and has parents coming back, but it only has a capacity of like 10 to 12. If you look at like our youth soccer, that's growing year over year, where like our 4 to 6 age group, we're getting close to like 100 kids signing up for that every year. And that just kind of keep jumping up. Our ice skating is incredibly popular with high demand, where
that I noticed, because the funding that United Way does for enrichment in games and sports rather than games. And I noticed the ice skating was really popular.
Oh yeah.
And whereabouts do you go to do that?
That's at Canterbury. Yeah, in terms of local ice, that's our best option for that, but we've got some particularly good instructors for that, so.
Do you have any cricket classes?
Yep, so his name is Jay Singh. He's kind of responsible for putting together the cricket community in town, and he offers a introductory class that he'll run through the spring and summer.
Through you?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
Mary Jane?
What are your qualifications for your behavioral specialists?
So they're coming in with like school counselor experience. Anyone that at least I've worked with so far, they work directly in the schools. They have the correct certifications to be a school counselor. They're coming in with experience within these schools, working with these age groups and working with some kind of developmental issue or personality issues, whatever it is. So someone that is in there to have a more specialized focus on whatever kind of behavioral disorders there might be, whatever issues there might be. There is a certain limit to that because we're not allowed, like, our behavior specialists do not do one-to-one with any of our campers, so if we end up with a camper that's a little more high needs in that regard, then we have to have a conversation with the parent, but yeah, they're very experienced generally.
And Graham, if you could expand a little bit, piggybacking off of Katie's question of which programs that you have and kind of popular. You could kind of expand everybody. Youth Agency came and talked about their summer camp program. You yourself have your own program. If you could talk a little bit about summer camp.
Absolutely. So for our summer camp program, we have 3 campsites. It's 2 elementary sites and 1 middle school site between JPCC, Northville, and Scotticoke. At Northville and JPCC, our numbers do very well. The Northville site especially, the location and not having to come through town tends to help people out trying to get through town around that 3 o'clock pickup window, and especially for families that have kids of multiple ages that fit Scotticoke and Northville, that proximity tends to be very helpful for them. But it is a 6-week program. Every year we are trying to come up with new ideas and new themes for the kids, so that way it is freshened up for, we do have a lot of kids coming back year over year, so they're seeing the same staff, we're seeing a lot of the same faces, so you get a bit of that camp camaraderie experience from, you just have that overlapping group of kids coming through. We have new field trips that we try and do every year, or kind of the ones that are really popular, so like the kids go to a trampoline park as an optional additional field trip. Once a week, there's that optional additional field trip for any parents that want to be able to provide for that. We keep that as a separate thing because we primarily do those as self-sustaining programs, whereas the rest of the camp experience is a subsidized program. But as a result of that, we've been able to keep the camp fees steady for the past 3 years, so we know and we are conscious that we are a lower cost option for a lot of families during the summer, especially as a childcare kind of option. So we have been very conscious about trying to keep that cost down year over year to try and help out families.
You know, Graham, last thing, and I'll turn it over to Alex. But lastly, we've been talking about programs that are revenue driven, obviously, to help with funding the entire operation of Park and Rec. But you guys also do programs that cost no money. So for instance, New Milford Kind is an event, if you could talk a little bit about that. And also talk about some of the pop-up things, like we just did one at the Silo, right, where we did ice skating that was a tremendous success. But if you could kind of talk about some of those things that, for a resident that may have limited access to funds or just wants to do this one-day thing, kind of what the pop-ups are about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always looking to our objective is to provide the most accessible opportunities possible, and for some families, money is that accessibility issue, so trying to provide more free events, more free offerings. So Milford Kind Days, the mayor brought up, that is an initiative that the mayor put together. So once a year, we try and get as many different town organizations, resources, nonprofits, anyone that's in that spirit of promoting kindness, trying to be a little bit nicer to each other, trying to be more helpful for each other instead of dividing each other. So we get a lot of buy-in for that. There's a lot of organizations that are extremely interested in that particular concept, and then being able to invite the community in to really see what those resources actually are, because there's just a lot of awareness issues when it comes to that particular topic. So our responsibility and our objective with that kind of event is to provide that resource for everyone and be that gathering space. We also provide, as the mayor was talking about, we did a pop-up ice skating event at the Silo. They got a nice pond back there that is kind of one of those little hidden secrets that everyone that was coming up did not really know existed. But it's a good little space that you could probably fit a good 40 or 50 people on. We had a good 20, 30 people going at a time. Everyone was just very like, I did not know this place existed. This was fantastic. I was so happy that you guys put this on. So just that ability to kind of say, hey, the weather and the conditions are right for something like this. Let's just put it on and show people there's other opportunities for especially that outdoor recreation, take advantage of the winter. When past few years we haven't gotten any ice. And we also do a number of movie nights throughout the year that we've got this gigantic outdoor movie equipment that we're able to put it up. We've got access to licensing for pretty much any kind of movie you can think of, even like popular like Disney, Star Wars, stuff like that. Like we have access to it. So we try and do that pretty carefully with like whether it's themed for a particular summer or like we've done 2 back-to-back Friday the 13th events between ourselves and the youth agency. So whether it's tying into a theme, we're trying to do it with Earth Day this year as well. So just trying to take advantage of, one, that equipment we have, and 2, it's a fun experience of getting people out, bring them into an outdoor environment.
And Coach Huff sponsored those, so there's no net cost
Right.
to putting those on.
Exactly.
Accessible to everybody.
Great. Thank you. Hi, guys. I know you do a lot of things for us, and I appreciate it. Do you train the lifeguards in-house, or do they come with their certifications?
So they all come in pre-certified, and then we have a contact that works with New Milford Fitness Club, who used to work with the town certifying the lifeguards. So we still use her. Her name is Jean DiGiacomo. And she's also, like, she used to coach the swim team in town, so all of our lifeguards are extremely familiar with her as well, but comes in extremely experienced, performs a certification for us each year. So that way, all of our lifeguards, they come in with the certification, but we also recertify them immediately prior to them starting, so the information is as fresh as possible.
Right, and they're certified at the body of water where they're lifeguarding?
So in terms of the restrictions on the actual lifeguard certification, has to be done in that pool, but there are the additional waterfront requirements.
Right.
That is what is required for lifting.
Right. So I don't see a line for training, and you've got a lot of youth summer program counselors who have to be trained. So where is that in your...
Yeah,
And
we
by
do
the
that.
way, the presentation was wonderful. I wish that was more public for all of our departments, actually. There's great information that doesn't come with our books that I think would be great for people. That list is
And those
huge.
and those acts we're going to be pushing out to the public so they can see exactly
Right.
what we're seeing.
Because that,
Absolutely.
it explains what you do. And then,
So it's under our subsidized account, and it's for training of waterfront certifications and those type of things.
what about the counselors themselves, non-lifeguards? What
Non-lifeguard.
training do they get?
So they get 2 days of training prior to camp starting. That's built into our personnel line.
Built into your personnel line?
Yep.
The training is done by Grant.
In-house.
And we
In-house,
bring in the
of
health
course,
department
right.
and that type of thing.
Got it. Okay, so supplies then for that would, if you needed any, are in your supplies line?
Correct.
But it's not separate. I just think if there's a way to indicate how much you're spending on training those people who are taking care of those children might be good information for parents.
Absolutely.
It's part of the process, just to let them know you don't just give their kids to untrained people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any other questions for, yes, Joe?
I'll agree with what Alex and Mayor Bass said. That program list is a huge variety. It's something for everybody. I think you guys do a great job. I don't have a question for you. I just want to give my support. I personally participate in one of your programs. My daughter in 2 of them. One of them being the no cost program. You do a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One quick one. Graham, is the dog training on that list?
If it's not, it should be, because, yeah, we are still regularly doing our
Yeah,
dog
yeah,
training
yeah.
sessions.
I see a lot of happy people. Well, a couple of dogs didn't make it, but they didn't get to graduation, I guess. But it seems like it's a pretty easygoing type of thing that they do compared to, I guess, what it costs, I suppose. But
Yeah, if you've seen a well-behaved dog around town, there's a decent chance it's Donna.
yeah, yeah.
Any other questions for Park and Rec team?
Just one thing, you
Sal?
have a very well managed marketing campaign. The emails that you guys are sending are very informational. And then you go on the website, really good stuff.
Oh, good.
Appreciate that.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Information all the time about what's coming out.
Yeah, it's good
I
stuff.
hope it's not too much.
Well, since I don't have any kids, it is a little bit, but that's okay. I like to read it, so.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, the entire
Thank you
staff.
very much.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Victoria,
Thank you.
thank you. While you're over there.
Thank you. Next, if we could go back to the Arts Commission, I do not see Lou here.
No, I don't see it.
So if we could do it real quick.
Sure.
Page
178?
well, page 40 is
40
first.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see
And Commission of the Arts, that's their self-sustaining account.
Right.
And it's the same amount as, let's see what they have here, $500, and in 2025 it was $500. Does anybody have any questions on the Commission of the Arts self-sustaining revenue?
Self-sustaining.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to the expenditures, which is page 178. And starting out with consultants, as you can see, I made a recommendation to reduce the amount by $12,000. And the differential is the art festival expenses. So those were able to use ARPA funding as we did last year for that. Obviously, the following year, they will have to be put into the budget. But this year, we can reduce the taxpayer exposure by doing that. Everything else, as you can see, is some adjustments just due to extra costs on some of these events. As you can see, materials and supplies are the same. Self-sustaining is the same. And then the gallery purchase and expenses are the same. Does anybody have any questions? And due to that, the overall expenditure line dropped by $7,700 due to that. Any questions? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the cemetery. And, okay, there we go. And that is page 152 in our budget book.
Oh, yeah.
152? 152.
My name is Matthew Marciniak. I'm the superintendent at the cemetery. Normally Susan Sinello comes. She had a hip operation and she's recovering and doing well. But I'm here to speak to you. I started working at the cemetery in 2017. I'm the current superintendent. We have 85 acres. We maintain over 55. We have 3 full-time employees. I have visited other cemeteries in the area that do not have full-time employees, and I've seen they're approximately the same size. They are not in as good of a condition that we keep our cemetery in. We are there every day to greet people that come and visit their loved ones. I try to see who they're going to visit, and I try to talk to them, and we see if there's anything that we can do to help them on a day-to-day basis. We pour foundations normally 10 times a year for headstones. A lot of cemeteries will only do that twice a year. We know it's important for the families to have the stones placed, so we try to do that right away. We did 59 burials this year throughout the year. It's important for me and the other workers that we are there for families at a time where they are suffering. So I'm there for the burials, and when they come visit and anything that they need, I'm there for them. We also do stone cleaning, which has increased every year. I charge half to a third of what they would have to pay if they went to an outside person. So we are not trying to get them at the time of need as far as charging them a lot. I will do that prior to a funeral to help them. And in addition to that, we mow, trim, we prune, and we do a lot of stone cleaning for veterans and older stones and repairs. I started a Facebook page, Friends of New Milford Center Cemetery, which you could visit and you could see stones that we've been cleaning, picking up that have fallen because they have rubble foundations that we repair the foundations. So these are from the 1800s, 1700s. We pick them up. A lot of cemeteries, you'll see a lot of stones that are down and never picked up again. So we are constantly working to have the cemetery look great. This year we are going to be working on the iron fence, welding it and repainting the fence. People have offered to volunteer, so we're going to be getting help with that. And this year we also put in a columbarium, which is a structure that will hold urns in each niche, and that saves money for the families because they don't have to get a headstone. They're able to buy a niche and place the urns, and then it's a lot more affordable for them. Our pricing is very good compared to other cemeteries. We try to be very fair, and you know, that's really it. We're asking for $42,108, which is approximately $3,000 less than the previous year. I'm trying hard to increase revenue through stone cleaning, plot maintenance, and plot sales.
Any questions?
I do.
What's left?
Katie?
I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
Cemetery. I have very old stones to look at and some newer ones, unfortunately. Do you have any regular volunteers that help you with that? You know, you ever?
We don't have anyone volunteer with the stone cleaning because you either, with the newer stones that are granite, you have to power wash.
Well, right.
And then the older stones,
You have to be
I
certain
really want
stuff.
somebody that has experience doing that. So
Right.
people that offer to volunteer, that's what we're going to do with the fence.
That's what I was wondering. So that's
Yeah.
good. And how about just generally upkeep and stuff? Do you have volunteers for that?
There's
too?
volunteers that do the Wreaths Across America, which is a big
Yes.
event that we have, and they come for that. So there's a lot of
Would you
children.
want more volunteers?
Hmm?
Would you want more volunteers in like the nice weather times if you could find them?
Yeah, we could have projects to get volunteers, and that's kind of what the Facebook page is for.
Yeah, I like the page. I saw
Yeah,
it.
oh, thank you. To announce that, what we're doing. And then if we ever have to close due to weather, I will close if it's icy and I'm worried about people falling. We do shovel walkways to people that we know visit every day, and they're a little bit older, and I try to encourage walking, running, and people biking through the cemetery, and I let them know that's a safe area to do that. We've given our cell phone numbers to older people that we might worry that they might fall, and they can call us, and we will come right to them. So.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Any other questions? Thank you very, very much.
All right, thank
for all
you.
you guys do. Please tell Ms. Sinello, have a quick recovery.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the Children's Center, page 167.
You're not entering this. Thank you.
And this is no change from last year's budget.
Right.
And just for those that are newer to the committee and watching TV, the town in the 1970s, I believe it was 1972, asked the Children's Center to be the designate for sliding scale child care, of which they have done for many, many years. And we've heard the wonderful stories, for those that have been on the council for quite some time, of people that have come in, used the Children's Center. They've been able to, because of that, further their education, job opportunities, and we've heard some people with their growth stories due to the fact that they're able to have Children's Center. Also, not me. Sorry about that. My daughter. Okay. So, Sean, did you have anything else that you'd like to say concerning children?
31 Roosevelt Avenue. I'm also the treasurer for the Children's Center. I sit on the executive board. It's an amazing facility. We have over 70 kids now enrolled currently with the Children's Center. We have an amazing staff. This money and the appropriations help to basically defer some of the costs of our annual budget. Our annual budget last year, total expenses was $1.21 million. This year, we're looking at a 3% increase in expenses. We're only asking, obviously, for $155,000 here to defer the cost of insurance and our benefits to the employees. We've also, through some amazing donations and philanthropy, have been able to also offer our staff paid parity with higher level educations, and being able to provide a cost of living increase this year, which we do pride ourselves on. So our goal here is to not only reward all of our staff members, but to also bring in more better staff and higher educated staff members throughout the course of our daily operations. The center, if you guys drive by, underwent almost $175,000 worth of renovations, including a brand new paint job over the course of the last year. We've done security upgrades to the facility, including shatter film on the actual windows, on all the first floor windows. We do also have solid core doors throughout the facility now. Brand new furnaces and air conditioners. We're doing a lot of different things. This is all part and parcel to the amazing donations and philanthropy that we get from the townspeople and through fundraising efforts of the board. So we have an amazing director. She is actually out doing professional development tonight, Andrea. She was not able to be here, so she put me in her place. So I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Any questions for Sean?
That's a good question.
Katie, and then
I just want to say, I think for other people who don't know, is that, as the mayor said, that the town requested that Mrs. Johnson start something. It's still the only center with a sliding scale part.
We
And
as
that is, I mean,
It's
we
major.
have some, United Way has some people who are home daycare providers. There's others that have been around for a long time. But it's an amazing place, run in an amazing fashion with a sustainable way, which is what's important. And as far as education goes, Andrea is all about improvement and training for the people that are there, and I think it's fantastic.
The philosophy here is that every child deserves an education,
Right.
whether they can pay for it or not. So there are a lot of families that struggle to just get their kids to daycare every day.
Yep.
What the Children's Center does is allows for a sliding scale and is proportionate to the family's income and what the families are able to actually provide, which allows the families themselves to go out and be employed, do the
Right.
job, and be able to provide for their families. So it's a sliding scale. There are people that pay the full price, and then there's people that pay very little. But it balances itself out. Through the state of Connecticut, we have a lot of grants that come in from the state of Connecticut and early childhood education. We have a lot of grants that come in from throughout the community, as well as we have an amazing chef. The children have, one of our biggest points is nutrition. The kids get a breakfast and a lunch that gives them all their nutrients and all their nutrition for the entire day. Okay, so that allows them, there's so many families that go home and kids that go home at night and are not able to actually eat a good meal at home. So this allows these kids to get what they need and to be able to be in a center that is loving and supportive.
Alex?
Thank you. Yeah, great work. Absolutely. I did see that you're expecting a little more from the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
So you feel confident?
Everybody knock on wood. Our monies that we get through the state of Connecticut, we are confident in the the number that we've provided for them, they usually come through. But there is always that, that's where it falls on a lot of other things. It falls on grants. We write a lot, you know, Andrea and Danielle are always constantly writing grants. They're constantly asking for and trying to find other avenues to better the actual center. I think that we should be in good shape this year for the grants that that we get through the state, based upon the numbers that we were able to provide from last year. So I don't foresee that being a shocker this year. No. Yeah.
Okay, good. So Monday through Friday, right?
Yep.
And how many children on average per day?
Over 70 now, 70 enrolled. And that goes from the child, the baby or the infant that is just past that time where mom and dad can decide to go back to work, all the way through to kids that are coming off the bus. We do have a couple of kids that are still after school, applicable. And then in the summertime, we actually ramp up, and we have a little bit of a summer program as well. So there's kids that are there in second and third grade. So we have extra staff in the summertime, extra activities. You'll see all of our friends walking up and down the street here. They're going to different programs at the library, at the Village Center for the Arts. We have all sorts of different extracurricular programs that are, I'm proud to say that are completely funded through philanthropy themselves. So these are all things that are benefited and rewarded to us by amazing people in our town and in our community, and are bestowed upon the kids. And the whole idea is that we're hoping to prepare each one of these kids to go on, to go forward, and to be active and good members of society. So.
Wonderful. You are looking at a decrease for fundraising?
Yes, we during the time of COVID taught us a lot of different things. There's a lot of different programs that have come into play and have become more active since COVID. Our Fund the Need, there's a great fundraiser called Fund the Need. It's during the nonprofit week, and it's a great. But there's more and more nonprofits. Right. So it's kind of like, at one point there were only about a dozen nonprofits that were going into these different programs. Now there are more and more, and there's almost 30 now on this program. So it breaks up the monies, and it definitely spreads the wealth a little more. So we do hold an annual fundraiser every year in September or October. This past year was very, very beneficial for us. We had a great packed house at 19 Main. We were able to raise a lot of funds for the program. So we're always kind of constantly working, constantly reaching out and networking. There are some big corporations, and there are also some private donors that do reach out to us. So we're trying to always work every avenue as much as we can. And if anybody has any avenues that they'd like to ask or give to us, please feel free. It does go to the kids, and it's an amazing experience. And if you do ever have a chance and would like to come up and peruse the center, this is part and parcel to absolutely funding and being able to fund the center. Come up and visit our friends, and I'm sure Andrea would love to show you. There's a lot of pride there from the staff, who many have been there for many a year. So it's a great facility. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? Thank you, Sean.
Thank
Please
you.
tell Andrea thank you for everything.
Thanks, Sean.
Service officers.
Next, we have the service officers.
69.
Actually, Housatonic Valley budget, which is page 59.
Oh, it slipped right in there.
And as we can see, their request is for $350.
Where's
We kept
Bob?
it the same.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. good.
The next now will be the service officers.
Right.
That's page 169.
Yeah, there we go.
And these are the requests from our commanders, from the VFW and from the American Legion. You can see it went up $900. And as you can see, there was a little bit of an increase for the graves, the marker stones for the graves. And that was your increase of $800 and $100 for personnel, as they do some different things. Or you can see the VFW, their contribution went from $1,200 to $1,300. American Legion went from $800 to $1,000. And then the Ezra Woods went from $1,000 down to $800, which is part of the American Legion.
Part of the what?
American Legion.
Ah, thank you.
That was their house. Does anybody have any questions when it comes to the service officers? Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you. Next is the nonprofits, and that's page 174. And each year we appropriate. This year would be the same as last year and previous years, $25,000 to distribute. The nonprofit committee takes a look at the requests that are put in and then makes their recommendation for these. And the recommendation is still for $25,000. Alex?
2 questions. Roughly how many nonprofits?
As many as 20, 25 apply. Not all are
Right,
within the criteria. but,
criteria.
Yeah.
And who manages this?
A committee, a bipartisan committee.
Okay, just want it out there.
Yeah, no, it's always been that way.
Okay.
So, there's certainly, based upon the increases all around, I'm not sure that we'll be able to. And that's, that's always a caveat for the applications, that if there is not sufficient budget to give that much, then we won't.
You won't get water from an empty well, right?
Well, that's sort of like that, yeah, sort of, yeah. And, most all of the applicants are definitely, fine in what they want to use the money for, but some are more needy than others, yeah.
Some of the nonprofits that apply are more needy than others, and the committee as a whole evaluates, that as part of the
Yes,
discussion
that's how
of
we look at it.
on who
Nothing
gets
to be
what.
duplicated, they can't be duplicating any services that the town already has or supplies and that kind of thing, so.
Any thought into increasing that amount due to the fact that there's so much cutting back on grants and whatever?
Mary Jane, that would be great, but as you can see, the budget headwinds that we're already facing with this budget, it would just make it very difficult.
Yeah, I know, except that, for the nonprofits, it's going to be a really tough go
Yep.
with all the cuts that are coming down from the federal government.
Yes.
Sad state of affairs, basically.
Right. So, we can kind of play with that as things go.
Does anybody have any questions on nonprofits? Okay. And that's it actually for tonight. And then Wednesday, which is tomorrow night. So Walter, can you make a motion?
So moved.
And town council, motion to recess till tomorrow night, 7 p.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
So
Thank you, everybody, for watching in.